Welcome to a short presentation of the current state of SCIARA's game My Climate Future. After logging in, I as a participant enter the welcome launch, where I can edit my profile and find lists of currently running, planned and completed games. We also call our games simulation runs. Here I have prepared such a simulation run. This box shows me when and how long it will run, how many people can participate, and how many have already expressed interest or are already in the game. When I enter the simulation run, I can first choose any name under which I want to appear in the simulation run. Protecting the identity of the participants and their personal data is very important to us. This is a page with introductory information. If I dismiss this, I get to the actual main page, the house with removed walls. In the near future, every participant will see a house reminiscent of his or her actual living situation, be it a single-family house or an apartment in a larger building. At the top of the screen, you will see the timeline, which shows the accelerated progression of the simulated time. Each simulation run can run at different speeds, from decades running in hours to weeks of simulation. In the rooms of this house and around it are corresponding action points. First, I can specify various climate-relevant aspects of my lifestyle. In the kitchen, my diet between meat-heavy and vegan. In the basement, my electricity consumption, as well as the type and consumption of my heating. In the waste bins, my recycling behavior. In the sky, the number of flights I take. In the bedroom by the wardrobe, my consumer spending. In the garage, everything revolves around my mobility, my cars, the use of public transport, but also my bicycles, motorbikes and e-bikes. The associated CO2 emissions are calculated for all of these areas. Here I find an overview of my CO2 footprint calculated from this and its breakdown. So far, this is roughly equivalent to a conventional CO2 footprint calculator. The special feature of My Climate Future, however, is that the personal CO2 emissions of all participants are extrapolated to a total population. Thus, one participant represents thousands or even millions of other people with his or her lifestyle. The collective emission values now run into a real scientific climate model. Here you can see the results of the climate calculation at the current simulation time. They are constantly updated. Currently, we show the CO2 concentration of the atmosphere, the change in global temperature compared to pre-industrial times, and the change in sea level since the mid-1980s. Soon we will also display values for the participants' place of residence here: heat, droughts, precipitation and more. In the future, we want to visualize climate consequences not only as dry numbers, but also as realistic changes in the player's environment: withering, dying trees, species going extinct, new invasive species and much more. This is intended to make climate change more vivid and emotionally tangible. We can not only display the current climate values, but even make a forecast for the year 2100, for example. You can do that here. These are now the climate values for the year 2100 if all the people on Earth were to change their emissions in percentage terms as much as I have. And the second flavor. This is what the climate values would look like if all the people on Earth changed their emissions as much in percentage terms as all the participants put together. These values are catastrophic at the moment. If you don't like the future shown, you can now try to adapt your lifestyle. For example, I could drive less and do without flights. Does that change anything? In any case, my personal carbon footprint has become smaller. In the climate forecast, here the values have also improved. If I didn't play alone now, I would notice that I can only improve the world within narrow limits with my own behavior. So I have to convince the other participants to adapt their lifestyles as well. That's what the chat function is for. Here I can exchange ideas with other participants, get advice, try to start joint actions, and help them to reduce their emissions. We plan to expand this chat functionality considerably in the near future. In between, news items pop up every now and then, reporting on events in the world like newspaper articles. These are also based on actual scientific findings. Soon you will realize as a participant that you cannot reduce your consumption and your energy use to zero. Political measures to decarbonize industry, heating systems, the electric grid and agriculture are also needed. We have built in some of these as well. Participants can vote on laws and regulations. Every 4 simulated years, the votes are evaluated and the choice with the most votes is implemented. This is, for example, a vote on changing the CO2 tax. If a majority of participants vote for an increase to encourage climate-friendly behavior, a cost change actually occurs in the game. Where can I see this? In this overview of my personal assets and my monthly balance. For someone with a good income, a CO2 tax increase is no problem. For someone with basic income, it might already be too much. Of course, I can adjust my income and cost values to my personal situation here. One's own financial situation is the first decision dilemma we have implemented. Without trade-offs, everyone would probably behave in a climate-friendly way. We will include other dilemmas influenced by climate protection measures. For example, models representing health and life expectancy and the impact of one's choices on the amount of leisure time. MyClimateFuture is a mobile-capable web application and can thus be played equally well on PCs, Macs and smartphones. So much for this brief overview. We still have so much to do.